Folks, Trevor Forrest is with us, and he's the Chief Executive Officer of 876 Solutions, which is a cybersecurity consultant, and he's right here with us. Morning. Welcome to Smile Jamaica.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. We're talking about SIM swapping. So, Dame?
And SIM jacking, SIM swapping.
Yeah, what in the world is that? They're going to come up with some new name for things every 2 minutes. What is SIM jack, and SIM swapping and that kind of thing? What's that?
All right, really quickly. Every mobile phone has what's called a SIM in it.
That's the standard of the card, yeah.
Subscriber identity module. And what that allows your phone to do is to send and receive calls, send and receive texts. It's what connects your phone to the network or the internet provider or your, what everybody knows as your phone provider, digital flow. And because of that little device, anybody who sends you text messages or calls your phone or anything like that gets through. Now, if I'm able to get that SIM in my phone, then suddenly I have your phone, your number. So anybody who is calling you suddenly calls me, sending a message to you is sending a message to me. Now, it turns out that with a little effort, I can actually get your SIM and your number on my phone.
With a little effort?
Yeah.
An illegal effort?
Yes, that's correct. And in doing so, any information that is associated with your phone number, bank account information, information for accounts you have online and so on, password recovery information. Suddenly, any communication associated with that goes to the phone or via text message or a phone call or whatever, and now it comes to me.
Wow.
So if I wanted to change, say, the password on your bank account, and it was tied to the mobile phone, the verification text that you get was tied to the phone, if I now swapped out or jacked your SIM, the request will come to the phone, and then I can now change the password and log into your account.
Trevor, you just distressed me a while ago. No, because that's eerie.
But it's real. It's not TV. It's real.
So how do you protect yourself from something like that?
Right. So a couple of quick things. First is to be aware of when it's happening, if it's happening to you. So what you would notice is your phone stops working, as in you can't get calls or make calls, or you're not getting text messages and so on, because technically, once your SIM is swapped, it can only be assigned to a single device. So your phone will stop working. The other thing, though, is depending on what the threat actor is using it for, they might get access to your email. So you'll see messages going to your email about things that you didn't do or didn't request. So if you're using your email not on your phone elsewhere, you start to notice some weird things coming up. So what I normally tell people to do to protect themselves is for your sensitive accounts, bank account, insurance, that kind of stuff. One, use a different email address entirely for those accounts. If you can afford it, use a different phone number for those as well. That's not always the case for everybody. But then many people say, well, use this thing called two-factor authentication, where even though you put a password in, it will send something to your phone
And to your email.
and ask, right. What I often suggest now is do not tie your two-factor authentication method to your phone.
Question, I start to jump in. Can this only happen if you are doing like online banking and stuff? Suppose you don't do online banking, it still can happen and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's valuable information on your phone that people can use.
I want to read something before I ask the next question. It says 2 significant SIM swap cases involving a total of 61 million Jamaican and 133,000 US have been investigated. The cases involved 27 customers of 2 commercial banks. And it says here the names of the banks were not publicly disclosed. Should the banks take licks for that? for well, I'm going to use the word allow. Obviously, them never, but should the banks take licks for not protecting us as well as they could?
All right. So in fairness to the banks, they invest quite a bit in, security, infrastructure, and so on. What I think the banks are not doing a good job of is making their customers aware of the dangers of functioning in the digital realm. Because a lot of them are forcing their customers to move digital, go online.
Yeah,
but what a lot of people don't know is the new responsibilities that they have and how they have to function in that modality. So
they use the app, they don't log out.
Yeah, I don't think banks are doing a good enough job of making customers aware of the responsibilities and dangers so that if something happens, you know immediately that it's happening and then you can take steps to...
In other words, to answer my question, you're saying, yes, the bank should take some licks for this.
They have a responsibility to make their customers more aware.
But
and I don't think they're doing a good job of that.
My question, Trevor, is when you go to get a SIM,
yeah,
it's a process.
Absolutely.
So where do they get SIMs from that they can swap out?
So if you interrogate the process,
yes,
all the information that you provide, and let me tell you, it's a lot more difficult to do SIM swapping in Jamaica, to the credit of the telcos, than it is to do it in the United States and some other jurisdictions, because there you just call and they swap it immediately. Here you have to do some verification, but the verification process itself can be
infiltrated,
manipulated.
Oh, wow.
So like I said, with a little effort,
illegal effort.
You can circumvent that. It is more difficult, but if you know what you're doing, you can actually pull that off. So while it is a little bit more difficult in Jamaica, it's still possible, and you're seeing it because this sort of stuff has been around for a while. It's here now, and what you're going to find is these kinds of attacks, this kind of fraudulent activity is going to increase. Because remember, I can now steal your money without running into a bank to do it.
Can do it while I'm sleeping. By the time I wake up and I'm alerted to it.
I asked this question already. I'm going to read something else because Mr. Keith Darian, who's the principal director of the FID, Financial, does not believe that SIM swapping or SIM jacking schemes pose a significant threat to the Jamaican financial sector. And he says so because he says mainly because of the security measures that have been put in place by the banking industry. You touched that a bit, but he disagrees with you, kind of thing.
But here's the thing. The banking sector has put in securities to protect their systems.
Not ours.
The thing is, all the security in the world can't prevent you from doing the wrong thing. Now, what happens there is, in protecting themselves, the banks remove the responsibility from themselves. That's what they do. They have to protect their systems. But if you as a customer are not doing the right things, it's your money that's going to get lost.
Yeah, but Trevor,
so they actually, and that's where I came back to, they have a responsibility to make you aware because nobody's going to do it.
No, but and coming back to what you just said, I put my money in the bank because the bank tell me, say, if you put your money in the bank, it's safe.
Yes.
The bank tell me that, which is why I put my money in the bank. And you can get whether it's interest, whatever kind of account you have. So when I put my money in the bank because you tell me, the bank, that it's safe here and then I get robbed, then what I must do ask?
Well, look at it this way. If you put your money in the bank and the bank does everything to make sure that it is safe in the bank, if you give
Open the door.
somebody your password and access to your account or you leave it carelessly, well, whose fault is that?
Mine, but listen,
no matter what the bank does.
Yeah, but even if I have 100,000 password, my phone locked now. So well, I was going to say you can't open it, but you probably could.
Yeah. I was about to say, don't put the phone near to Trevor.
But my point is that's why I put, and that's why the phone tell me to do all these things so daily I can just pick up my phone and just go so.
But think about this: who told you to do all of those cool things to protect your phone? Somebody told you, right?
Yeah.
Well,
so the person who told me.
So you became aware of what you need to do to protect yourself.
Right.
Well, in this realm that you're going into, that the banks are moving in,
I know what
they
you're gonna
need to
say.
tell you
How to protect
how
them.
to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm saying. They're not doing a good job of. So,
and
so when you know, when somebody calls you and asks you for your RSA code and you give it to them, which is something you never do, well, the banks never told you. Never do that.
Right.
And if I sound like I'm legitimately calling. So one of the things I also tell people is if you get a text message or if you get a phone call from the bank, stop, because a lot of times they do what they call social engineering, scare you because it's money. So if I tell you, say your money is at threat, you lose all sensibilities. When you get calls like that or you get messages like that, stop and say, listen, I'm going to call you back. Because now you are originating the call to the bank. So you know who you're calling. You don't know who's calling you. But stop and say, all right, listen, I'm going to call you back. And call the bank or whoever is calling you and say, listen, did you or
Ask
is
this
there
person to call
an
me.
issue with my account?
Yeah.
Do you have an issue going on? Did you send out a text message saying that I should do this or that? You initiate it. The fixes are very simple, you know.
Hold on, Reggie. I used my card, true story. I used my card and immediately I got an email from the bank to say that my card was compromised and I need to call this number. I call the number and the bank says, we didn't call you and there's nothing wrong with your card.
Absolutely.
It happened about 2 minutes after that again. I got another and I called back and them said, nothing wrong with the card. 2 days later it was scammed. That happened to me.
So that's why you. And listen, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah, we have to go. Good to see you. Very well explained. Very well explained.
Thank you.
And Daily, all right.
I mean, I know why you my phone don't even depend on the set. It's not on the set. Cybersecurity consultant and chief executive officer of 876 Solutions, Trevor Forrest. Thank you so much, Trevor. Very important discussion.
Great to be here.
Trevor, Daily, all right.
Today is the International Day
of
of
the Tropics. There you go.